Hello everyone. This presentation will provide you with a brief summary of the American Civil War and the result of this armed conflict. We need to go back in time to 1860, a presidential election year. Four candidates are contesting to win the sympathy of Americans and to collect enough electoral votes to win the race. In the end, it will be the Republican candidate, Abraham Lincoln, who will become victorious in this election. Not everyone will be happy about this, and in the following days after the election, 7 states from the South will decide to secede from the Union, calling themselves the Confederate States of America. By March 1861, Abraham Lincoln was inaugurated president to a divided nation. 1 month later, the Civil War will begin. In the following slides, we will cover relevant information about the Civil War, the key figures in this historic conflict, and the most relevant battles in the war between the states. At the end, we will analyze the outcomes of the Civil War. The American Civil War is an armed conflict that lasted from 1861 until 1865. This conflict has been divided in 3 major regions where the battles took place, being these the Eastern Theater, the Western Theater, and the Trans-Mississippi Theater. The North was known as the Union and the South was known as the Confederacy. In the North, the president was Abraham Lincoln, elected in 1860, while in the South, the Confederacy elected Jefferson Davis from Mississippi as their president. It is important to understand that this armed conflict left more than 350,000 casualties from the Union, while the Confederacy had over 250,000 casualties. The Civil War lasted over 4 years, coming to an end on May 26, 1865, with the victory of the Union over the Confederacy. The Civil War had many important participants, from which we can name some of the most renowned. Abraham Lincoln is the most important from the Union, being the president. The Confederacy had Jefferson Davis as president of the Confederate States of America. General Ulysses S. Grant was named commanding general of the Union Army. The commander of the Confederate States Army was Robert E. Lee. George M. McClellan commanded the Army of the Potomac. T.J. Stonewall Jackson was a general officer in the Confederate States Army and played an important role in the Eastern Theater. John C. Breckinridge, besides being a candidate to the presidency in the election of 1860, he formed part of Congress in both houses before he was appointed Confederate Secretary of War. In the 4 years the Civil War lasted, over 237 battles occurred. From these, the most relevant are listed here. Some of these battles represented a victory for the Union Army, but some others were a victory for the Confederate States Army. On November 19, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln visited Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, to dedicate the Gettysburg battlefield as the Soldiers' National Cemetery. In this visit, Lincoln gave his now famous Gettysburg Address, a short but very powerful speech that called to the unity of the country. By May 26, 1865, with the end of the Civil War, the Reconstruction Era began. This Reconstruction Era lasted from 1865 until 1877. During these years, the United States of America focused on bringing back the states in rebellion as well as in providing protection to the slaves. In 1865, with the ratification of the 13th Amendment, the United States of America made official the abolishment of slavery, representing the freeing of every single slave in the country. 3 years later, in 1868, the ratification of the 14th Amendment, sometimes called the Great Amendment, addresses citizenship rights and equal protection under the law, benefiting formerly enslaved people. By 1870, the ratification of the 15th Amendment will grant the right to vote to every American, regardless of the race, color, or the previous condition of servitude. Thank you for watching, and until next time.